Good morning from New Jersey, and good evening to everyone else who will be watching it from different parts of the world today. My name is Sunil Robert, and I'm a motivational speaker, writer, and I just want to take a moment to welcome all the young ones. This webinar is going to be slightly different in that there are a lot of young children that we are trying to target in this morning's webinar in the New Jersey area. First of all, I'm so delighted that I get to interview some of these young achievers as part of my effort called the Let There Be Light, a series of webinars. In the first one, we had Chavi Varg, who's a beauty pageant winner. She went all the way to the top of Miss USA, and she was the first runner-up. And in the second webinar, we had interviews with two World Championship public speakers. And as you can see, there's a trend emerging. Chavi is a young achiever in the world of beauty, and we had these two young public speakers who are corporate leaders and trainers. And now our attention is focused on this spelling whiz and this young entrepreneur from Sri Lanka. And it is my joy that young Navneet Murli, who's actually formerly a neighbor for us in Parkgate, and now he's a young leader in his own right. And as he goes through middle and high school, it'll be a challenge for him to sustain that degree of achievements. And I want to just get into the mind of a champion achiever at this young age. So a warm welcome. So all of you young ones, sit back in your chair, feel the shoulders leaning against the back of your chair, relax. This is going to be an exciting journey. On a Saturday, you've woken up early and your parents have signed you into this course. So it'll be fun to hear. So Murli, I want to first of all welcome you. And you've been in the spelling bee circuit for the last few years, and you've just become a national champion last year. So first of all, congratulations to you, your family, and of course, your younger sister who's also following in your footsteps. So I want you to just open this webinar by starting to tell us, how did it all begin? Where did your love affair with such competitions begin? Did you compete in other stuff before you zeroed in on spelling bees? How did it all start?
Okay, yeah. So I just immigrated to the United States in third grade, and at that time, I was an avid reader and overall just a competitive person. And that summer, I participated in a regional spelling bee. And to my surprise, I was able to crack the spelling of a really challenging French word, chanson. And I hadn't seen that word before, and I was able to get the correct spelling using language patterns. And after that incident, I became more intrigued with spelling and language, and I started investing more time into spelling. And long story short, my effort was met with success. And after I found out that I had potential, I worked harder and harder. And after several years, I was able to reach heights in the spelling world that I never thought were possible.
Well, you made it sound as if it was so simple and straightforward. I mean, you first of all came in from come into this country as an immigrant kid. So let me just start right there and say, if you see that there are some patterns that are emerging in the very little that you've already shared, an immigrant child with a love of reading came in and took a shot at it, and then as they say, rest is history. But let's just go back to that immigrant child and the parents and the reading, that kind of context or the background which set the path and the process for you to become a champion. So tell us a little bit about your parents and how the love of reading started. What were your early influences? And just tell us, because you said you were an avid reader long before you got into the competitive circuit.
Yeah, I liked reading in general, and books, stories, they all fascinated me. But the main thing I would say is, before delving into competitive spelling, I watched the National Spelling Bee on ESPN for a couple years. and just watching and observing the work ethic, the demeanor, and the knowledge of the spellers on TV. Um, it has influenced my spelling journey. And as a speller, also, even at the height of my spelling journey, my competitors and fellow spellers, they have taught me important lessons, either directly or indirectly. And obviously, credit also goes to my parents for nurturing my love of spelling and my love of reading and taking me to these heights.
So tell us a little bit about your reading habits. I see a couple of young kids already. And what would your reading, so to me, any success is like a gardening or a tree metaphor, right? You see the tree and you see the fruits and you see the flowers, but many people don't see the roots or what goes underground, unseen part of that. And I'm imagining reading is a part of that unseen underground of success habits. So what is been your thing? What is your advice, for example, to these kids to say, how do they inculcate reading, particularly when parents are all frustrated that they are always into screens and phones and stuff? So what worked for you, and what is it that you encourage these kids to do?
I mean, just as I said, I just like to read books, starting from a young age. And if you like, once you start reading a book and you sort of delve into that story, it becomes more interesting than watching TV or doing something else like that. So just get a book on your hand and start reading, and you'll enjoy it.
All right, so let's just collect your thoughts there, because I want to take a moment to welcome Netila, the other speaker. Netila, if you are already on, if you wouldn't mind turning on your camera, I want to welcome you. And I just want to set the context for Netila's introduction as well. He's a young entrepreneur from Sri Lanka, and he had this very popular chat show called Cinnamon Chat with Netila. So Netila, do you have a moment to, if you're able to unmute and come on and say hi?
Hello.
Hey, great to see you.
Hi.
Look at you.
Yes.
All bright, and it's a different time zone in Sri Lanka. So welcome, Netila. I'm so glad that you're able to dial in. I was just quizzing Navneet on his early influences, and I want to ask you that question. At what point did you realize that you had in you to become this entrepreneur? What were the early influences? How did your story begin?
So my story began, you want me to tell the whole thing right now?
Yes, a quick overview of how it began.
I can give you a quick overview because I don't want to, sorry about that. I had to fix the lecture. So I can give you a quick overview, a quick one, because I want to tell the rest when you like ask me the full question.
Yes, sure.
Because that would ruin the story. So it started as I was actually working with my dad. My dad had his own YouTube channel. So it started with my dad, and he wanted me to come and appear in some of his work, because you don't normally see a kid doing something like that. No. So he just wanted me to appear in some of his work. So that's how it originally started. That's the quick summary that I'll give you.
Great. I'll hold that thought. We were still talking about parental influences. So I wanted to just ask you one question. When your dad asked you to join in these videos, was it like a thing that you shared? Because Navneet said he loved reading by nature. He was this, like, you couldn't keep him away from books. So was media something that naturally came to you? Now you can give us the full story.
Okay, if you really want to. Okay. So what happened is he wanted me to appear. I actually wanted to do it because he started filling my mind with, when you start this business stuff at such a young age, when you get to like a little bit elderly age, a little bit older. When I get just a little bit older, I will have I'll be very very successful, because I'm starting from a very very young age.
Correct.
So that influenced me and inspired me, thinking, oh, if I start at a young age, then a lot of people will start also looking like you don't normally see a young person, just a very young kid, a child, learning about all this business and coming and talking. I know, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like that. So you don't normally see a child do something like that. So I felt like that. That is why I wanted to come on this media and stuff. And also something funny that happened was, my dad said he actually wanted me to interview some people just like I am doing right now. So he said he'll pay me 500 Sri Lankan rupees per interview, and that gave me more influence and inspiration.
So money was also a motivator for you in a sense.
Yes, yes, a little, yeah.
Excellent. So this is a very interesting tip for all the parents who will subsequently watch this on YouTube. I also shared this on my Facebook page, which is about 5,000 people. So I want you guys to tell me if this were a lesson that you'd like to offer to all the children, what would you say? What are some of the things that you'd want them to do at this age so that they can also find what is of their interest? How did so your Navneet was talking about how he was a reader and it was his natural impulse to read, and you're saying your dad sort of encouraged him to collaborate with you and just use your time very productively, and he offered to pay you even some money. So right there we find some tips and techniques to get the young kids involved. What should young people do to start of build their own channel or find their own interests? So Navneet, you can go first, and Netila, you can go next. What should young people do to find what fascinates them and interests them most?
Yeah, so I mean, the process of finding your interest or your bailiwick, uh, part of it is just luck, like it was for me. I didn't know that I'd be a speller, and I didn't come to the United States planning to be a speller. It's just something that happened when I participated in the regional spelling bee. And after that, after I found out that I had potential to excel in that field, I went all in and I worked for that. So finding your influence, just explore different things that fall into the general domain of what you like doing. Like for example, if you like reading, you can try competitions that involve reading, or the spelling bee, for example. That's a good place to begin with. So after you find an area that you have potential to excel in, go all in and work to succeed in that field.
Sure. Natila, what's your thoughts on that?
Mine would be very similar to Namneet's. Part of it was luck, like he said. Yeah, if you get very lucky, you'll just find it without having to put any effort into it. Or sometimes maybe when you're like reading a book, you could just find something that like when you if you say the word coding, that's an interesting word, and you might find you might feel like that word is interesting and start searching about it, and then you learn about what coding is, and then you'll be like, I want to become a coder. So part of it is luck, and others you have to put some effort and explore, like Namit said.
So what do you guys do when what you're doing becomes a little boring? Saying, for example, when you're Navneet, when you're doing a spelling bee preparation, you see this, you have to mug up or you have to memorize so many thousands of words. It can be daunting. It can be overwhelming at times. How do you cope with that? And even now, Netila, when you are doing a chat show or when you are doing something and you find, I mean, other kids are playing cricket, other kids are doing something else. I mean, I don't know. How do you sustain your level of energy when things don't go always as per plan?
Okay, yeah. So, well, there's a myth that spelling's all about memorization, but actually that's completely false, because nobody can use rote memorization and learn and remember all the words in the dictionary, because you have millions of words. So something that I did, I studied spelling holistically, and that helped me with other subjects like writing, science, history, and even problem solving, because you encounter words of all types while studying. So instead of just memorizing words, I focused on other more interesting aspects like vocabulary, language patterns, and roots. And sometimes if you don't succeed in competitions, it's definitely very daunting and disappointing. But I mean, even without necessarily winning, you can convert your passion into something better for the future because my dream was to win the Scripps National Spelling Bee, but last year, due to the pandemic, it was my final chance and it got canceled. So even though I did win another spelling bee with a similar level of competition, I couldn't achieve my dream because it was canceled again. But now, after 5 years of being a speller, I am passing down my knowledge to the next generation of national spellers. So
Sure.
it's, yeah.
Natila.
Yes, I forgot part of the question. What was it? Other children are playing cricket, and you said something like
Yeah,
that.
how do you sustain your interest in your chat show, in your role as an entrepreneur when things don't go as per plan?
Oh yeah, so when things go on go as planned, I mean, we actually did have a small problem. Like I was planning to start launch a startup to teach entrepreneurship. Now, since I'm an entrepreneur, I'm like, I want to show the younger generation about this entrepreneurship, so they can also start like me at a young age. So there was a huge delay in the startup. So we were actually planning to launch my startup in February, and we actually couldn't do that. So now I feel really sad because we couldn't, we were unable to do because of the pandemic. There was a big delay. So the energy to that is because if I manage to do this, the younger generation will be like me and be very successful at a young age. So that gave me some inspiration and gave me energy to continue and make sure the younger generation gets to learn about this. So they don't have a very rough life and they can learn about this and become very successful CEOs, business owners like that.
Excellent. I'm so happy. I mean, there is a Jewish phrase that says, out of the mouth of children or out of the mouth of babies, knowledge comes out. And just to hear Navneet and you talk about younger generation, I mean, you yourself are young children, and for you to talk already about younger generation just blesses my heart. And I'm very proud of you guys. You know that. And that's why I'm interviewing you. There was a question, and I want to get these other bright young boys and girls on the call to start asking you a few questions themselves. There was a question from Precious. Precious, your hand is still up. So do you want to unmute and ask the question that you put on chat?
So what kind of books do you read? Like mystery books, non-fiction books, or anything else?
Great question. That's for both of you. Both of you can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I like reading in general, and I've read books of most genres, including books like Harry Potter, to mythology-based books like Percy Jackson, to even books on neuroscience and nonfiction books. And a book that I really enjoyed that I just read over spring break, like over the past week, it's called Intern, A Doctor's Initiation, and it's about the medical internship process. And I liked it because it was entertaining, personal, and informative. I mean, reading it, you don't have to restrict reading to just one genre or a group of genres. It's anything that interests you. That's definitely something to look into.
Okay.
Natila, you want to respond to that reading question?
Yeah. So I read a lot of not a lot. I read some books about entrepreneurship. I mean, I love books like I love encyclopedias. Like I'm a very animal kind of guy and nature. Like I love preserving nature, and also I love learning about animals. I study animals a lot, snakes, insects, all sorts. So I have a lot of encyclopedias. I think I have about two giant encyclopedias. And I also love reading entertainment books. And I actually go for a book reading club called Pick a Book, where each of us, we read a book and we read a book and we have to present it to all of our readers, what we learned from it. And yeah, we have to learn and tell us a story. A lot of us do fiction books and a lot of us do other books like I recently I'm going to be presenting this book at a physical meeting that we're going to be having at Pick a Book. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. So those kind of books also some of us present over there. So those are the kind of books that I read.
Super, super. I love the book that you referenced. That was one of the first books that I read, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an all-time classic, and I don't want to get into the book, but that's a book that every child and young person should read. Sahil, you were raising your hand. I presume you have a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question.
Yes, I do. Actually, since Prashant asked that first question about what kind of genre of books do you read, so I really thought about that, and I thought, what inside of the books did you learn to put on your life itself?
What insights did you learn that you'd like to apply for your life? That's your question?
Yeah.
Is it for Netila or is it for Navneet? Both.
It's both.
Okay. So any book that stands out as something that really affected you guys, and what insights did you get from that book is his question.
Yeah, so going back to the book that I just talked about that I read over spring break, Intern, A Doctor's Initiation. I mean, even though it's talking about a very niched field, one insight that I got from the book is the importance of hard work and how over the long run, perseverance is really important for success. So, I mean, each book obviously has its own insights, but that's something that really stood out to me when I read that book.
Super. Persistence, the key to success. Very good. Natila, maybe you can pick a lesson or two that you picked from the current book that you're reading.
Yeah. So I learned a lot from this book, and I'm still learning. I'm actually still reading that book.
Sure.
Because I really need to learn as much as I can. And a few things that I have learned is, like, if you want to befriend someone, like the book actually gave an example that I will always remember. It's about a story of a person. He's actually the boss of this big factory, of this factory company, and all the workers. They all stop. They all wear their helmets. They all wear their helmets when the boss is around, because the boss is kind of intimidating. And so they all wear their helmets when the boss is around, and they remove it when the boss is out of the room or gone somewhere.
Sure.
So the boss actually he learned about this, and he recently wanted to scold all the employees, but then he thought, no, I shouldn't scold them. Instead, I should tell them why this helmet is important. So he went up to them and said in a softly and gentle voice, this helmet is there to protect you. Is it uncomfortable for you, or do you think it's not good for you, or do you think it's damaged? And then all of the workers said, no, it's fine. So by doing that, he was able to find out what was wrong. So the employees started to listen to him.
Super. I mean, you guys are so smart and so thoughtful. Navneet, of course, is a teenager, and he is his perception, and that is just so insightful. You are 11 at the time when we started talking, and you just turned 12. So
I'm 12.
You just turned 12. So belated happy birthday to you. And my God, I'm just so impressed to see these two young achievers. While your achievements are merit-worthy in themselves, what I'm seeing is a lot of humility, a lot of innocence and childlike wisdom that you guys are. I'm sure both your sets of parents are immensely proud of you, and so am I. Every time I see talent and potential, my heart just gets very excited. And I want you guys to take away one thing from you. No interviewer would have ever said this, but I am very, very proud of you both. I will now move to Leora, who has a question, and she had raised her hand for a while. Leora, we should have asked you first, as they say, ladies go first, young ladies should go first. But I'm sorry, you get your chance now. You can go ahead, Leora.
So my question is that I want to be a spelling bee participant too. How do I prepare?
Okay, yeah, sure, I can answer that. I mean, this is all based on my experience, but first, you need to find your field of interest, and that's something that you already did. And after that, participate in a spelling bee, just see how you do. And if you do well, that's an early sign that you have potential to succeed in that field. But at the peak of my career, when I competed at nationals, I used to study like 3 to 4 hours a day, um, and that can obviously change. That number is flexible based on school and other interests that you have. One myth again is that spelling is all based on memorization. So you definitely shouldn't go to a spelling bee just memorizing a list and um, recalling the spellings of the words that you memorized. You should study holistically, meaning that you should focus on other areas like vocabulary, language patterns, and roots. So you can guess words that you haven't seen before. It's not feasible for you to remember all the words in the dictionary, as I said before. So if you learn how words are made, that's something that can definitely help you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's a very good answer. I want to just make a segue into what you just said. You can't memorize the whole dictionary, so you go into vocabulary, language patterns, root word analysis, and so on. To some degree, even I'm a little word buff myself. So I want to ask Navneet first, and then I'll shift to Nethala. So now, how does your day look like? What do you do in a typical day when you don't have any tests? How much of it is related to spelling and how much of it is related to general life? And Nithila, for you, how much of it is related to your podcast chat, cinnamon chat, entrepreneurship related stuff? So walk us through how your day goes. Are you guys early risers? Do your parents have trouble waking you up, or do you guys jump out of bed? How does that work? Just walk us through your days, okay?
Okay, yeah, sure. So as I just said, I studied 3 to 4 hours a day when I had a lot of free time. And that time, again, you should spend it as effectively as possible. I personally am an auditory learner, so I had my parents quiz me on words, and that's something that really helped me. And I also had other interests outside of spelling, even though spelling was my main field of interest, like music and also reading. So yeah, it's you should partition your time and you should partition your time properly. Time management is actually one of the most important things that I learned as a speller. It was an indirect benefit of studying, and it's something that comes in hand in high school and will pretty much throughout your life. So yeah, 3 to 4 hours a day, and the time should be spent effectively. And also, this is extremely specific to spelling, but the dictionary that they use in for the Scripps National Spelling Bee, it's Merriam-Webster's Third International Dictionary. And after you have a strong foundation in spelling, the most logical way forward would be making lists from the dictionary. So I found exception lists to make, lists of smaller languages to learn, and other things like that. So I could partition the words from the dictionary in a logical way so I could remember them.
Uh, this sounds like a subject in itself. You can spend hours talking about how the dynamics of a bee work, right? Because you're
Yeah,
just one error away from elimination, right? And one mistake can just cost you the amounts of preparation. So yeah,
yeah,
I'll
it's
come.
just all it takes to miss on stage would be one letter, and that can cost even 1 year of hard preparation.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know the stakes. Nathala, back to you. How does your day look? How do you manage your time?
Uh, so my parents don't wake me up actually. I wouldn't say I'm a late person. I'm a person who wakes up late. I wake up at around 8:30, 9, around that kind of time. So, but I try very hard to wake up earlier than that. Sometimes 5. I mean, I very rarely, just for some reason, I don't know why, I just wake up in the middle of the night and decide to go back to sleep instead of just waking up and staying until the morning. So that's how I get up and stuff. And the normal days, like I get up, I drink water, and then I go to my laptop and open LinkedIn or do something on it, maybe play a game. And then I actually go through a LinkedIn for some time, just checking people, whether people have sent me connection requests or something. Then I sit down and watch the TV. Then I read some of this bit, because I have the pick a book thing coming up. Yeah, that's how my normal, like until afternoon, that's how it goes. Nighttime is just any person's nighttime. I also make, I forgot to mention, I also make Lego. I'm a right side of the brain. That means that I am not much of a keeping things in order and organizing kind of thing. But I'm a very creative thing. So I make lots of Lego. I break the original stuff and start making new stuff.
Super. It's amazing how you both have different approaches. You, Nethala, seem to be like me, a bit of a free spirit who enjoys creative and that kind of stuff. I kind of fall more towards you. Navneet seems to have a more disciplined, structured time management that seemed to work for him well. I'm so impressed. But considering you've achieved a fair amount already, I want to ask you two questions. One is, Navneet, why LinkedIn? At your age, kids are always on YouTube, or maybe once they go slightly older, they think Instagram and stuff. But why LinkedIn? Why should anyone be on LinkedIn is something that I'll ask you. And the second part to Navneet is, Navneet, does time management come naturally to you, or parents or anyone influenced you to manage your time well?
Yeah, it's the latter option. It's not something that I started out with. It's something that I developed as a result of studying. And if you have a large workload, and you have other things that you have to do, it's something that eventually just comes to you after you learn to split your time and work properly. And also, it's my parents also constantly reminded me to focus on my work um, and manage my time better.
Super. LinkedIn, Nethala, why LinkedIn?
Yes, LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is for me to get connected with other people, because I feel like that's very important going through my journey like this, becoming an entrepreneur. So having a lot of connections means like getting a lot of support from all those people, and a lot of them support you a lot. So LinkedIn, I also like in my YouTube channel, I interview successful CEOs and ask them whether they have anything to say to the younger generation, any tips or easier way, smart ways to become an entrepreneur and become successful fast, like that. So I use LinkedIn to connect with a lot of them, a lot of those CEOs. That's basically why LinkedIn is there. And a lot of the podcasts I do, almost every single podcast, yeah, every single podcast I have done, it's by connecting through LinkedIn. And also LinkedIn is to grow my personal brand.
Sure. A lot of wisdom distilled right there. I have a question. It seems very clear to me that Natila will be a top entrepreneur. He will change the world, particularly change Sri Lanka, and we are proud to have you as a neighbor. I'm from originally from India, so we love Sri Lanka. We love Sri Lankan cricket team. So I wanted to ask you a couple of personal, do you follow cricket? That kind of questions in a bit. But I want to ask you one question that's common to both of you. And here I also want to tell the other children, you get another chance to ask another set of questions. So if you have any questions, just get ready to ask these two young achievers. to me, it seems Nethala is heading towards being an entrepreneur. So I can't even say, oh, so what are your future plans, Nethala? But Navneet, where do you feel your future dreams are? What are your aspirations? Where do you want to head from here on?
Yeah, so my career goal is to become a physician. And the school that I currently go to, Woodbridge Academy, it gives several courses that have given me a strong sense of what I want to do as a professional, like after college, and many things that I've learned as a speller and other things that my parents have distilled in me, including specific things like roots and etymological patterns, um, along with other more complex skills like problem solving, thinking under pressure, um, and specifically for spelling, proficiency in medical terminology. These are all skills that healthcare professionals need and use on a daily basis. So I think the most logical career path for me would be as a physician or just working in the medical field.
Brilliant. And I'm sure you'll make such an articulate physician that you'll easily diagnose problems. And as you very well know, you always like a doctor who makes you feel comfortable, who understands what you say. His communication skills are at a very high level. And so I have no doubt you'll make an excellent physician. Although I would have liked you to become a writer, and your love for language will probably. So there are many writers who are successful in their medical practice. Dr. Abraham, of another Indian origin doctor. So I love to look to you for future great accomplishments. And I can't wish you enough the very best, Navneet. Nethala, what's your dream? What do you want to do for the world and younger generation?
Yeah, so I think I already told you this. It's about my startup. It's to teach the kids entrepreneurship, and also I also want to become a good coder one day. Like I'm going to be starting a course soon, so I can start coding. I mean, when you look at the future, it's all going to be based on technology, internet, and all those sorts of stuff. So coding is going to be a crucial part of that. So the startup, yeah, about the startup, I was going to tell you that. Uh, we had a delay. We had a delay. I told you on February. So we actually plan to launch a website. So we actually plan to launch a website very soon. So and after that we'll be working on the centers. We are going to be having two centers in Anuradhapura and Badulla, which are in Sri Lanka. And both of those separately will be for underprivileged kids, kids who don't have money, those kind.
Super, super. I'm so impressed that you guys have these clear visions of the future. There are many, even adults I meet, who are absolutely not clear. Their passions are somewhere. They're doing something else. But to see young people with such clarity in mind makes me very happy. I will ask you, who among the children have any other questions? If you guys want to ask a question, I'm happy to give you an opportunity.
So could you repeat?
Any of the children want to ask you a question? I'd like to give them an opportunity. And while they're collecting their thoughts, let me just go back to a question of role models and influencers. Both you have one thing common, which is parents who are very invested and interested, and they kind of supported you so far. Outside of the parents, who are your role models? Who influenced your thinking a lot?
Well, I mean, outside of my parents, it's mainly just the fellow spellers and people that I've competed with. And as a young speller, watching the spelling bee on TV, the just looking at the knowledge of the spellers and how they were able to stay calm on stage, that was something that definitely inspired me. And as a speller on stage, interacting with other top spellers, that was also it taught me many lessons. But yeah, it's mainly been my parents, especially my mother, who have invested a lot of time in me to help me reach the heights that I've reached.
All right, so I like the answer. I don't know if you often thank her enough in person. I'm sure you do, but here's your chance to say thank you. So go ahead and say a word of acknowledgement and appreciation to your mother.
Yeah, I mean, my mother has been with me for my entire spelling journey, and from starting out to even my higher advanced stages of learning. And she has quizzed me so many words to help me better remember them. And I'd like to thank my mother for all that she has done to help me grow as a speller and as a person.
Excellent. Yes, Sahil, we'll ask you your chance to a question, but after Netila responds on influencers and role models. After that, I'll get to you, Sahil.
So one of my role models would be my dad, because he's the one who got me into all of this, and I'm really grateful for all his help. And my relatives also, my mother, my brother, all of my other relatives, they also helped me. And there are a couple of my friends who know about this thing that I'm doing, just maybe two or three, and they also say thanks to all of them as well if they are seeing this. I think those are all. One more role model, Elon Musk. Yeah, Elon Musk is a big role model to me because, like, he's also. I have heard that sorry, not heard actually. He is he's the inventor, and I also, like, I'm a huge fan of Lego, and I build a lot of his stuff. Like I have heard of him making a train called a Hyperloop that runs on magnets. So I'm also a huge fan of that, and I have heard about his SpaceX rocket that can launch into space, and part of it can come back and land on a pad, so they can what do you call it? They can save money and not build out an entire rocket entirely. Elon Musk is an entrepreneur, and I also am an entrepreneur, young entrepreneur actually. So he's a good role model to me.
Super, super. I'm so happy to hear those responses. Elon Musk is indeed an inspirational inventor. Yes, Sahil, your chance to ask a question. Go ahead, unmute and ask.
Okay, I have a question for both. What was the first book you have ever read, and how did it affect you?
The first book you guys read, how did it affect you?
I mean, honestly, I can't remember the first book that I read because it would have been from a long time ago. But instead, I'll talk about how reading has affected me. So yeah, I mean, reading, it was the main thing that helped me find my interest. It's something that my parents nurtured. And after I found that my main interest and a great source of potential was spelling, it helped me become the speller that I am today. So uh, I have a lot to thank reading for. And yeah, I mean, reading has taught me many life lessons that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Like the importance of persistence. That's something that I talk about a lot. And I mean, how despite having obstacles in your way, how you can succeed.
Super. Navneet, Natila, you want to respond?
Yeah. I can't remember the first book I read either, because like that's a really long time ago. Like I'm probably like 2 years, 3 years old. I mean, my mother must have read it to me. I couldn't have possibly read it. I can't remember the first book I read, but like I'll tell you the first book that like I can tell you some of the books actually that have inspired me more than the storybooks and stuff. One would be this. I have already told you about it. Yeah, this one, and a few others. Like some of them are actually diary Wimpy books. Like sometimes when I feel unhappy or down, like I read some diary Wimpy that makes me feel better. Also, in my pick a book club, I have presented a book called Magic of Me. There also I have been that book has also inspired me a lot, and a book about Martin Luther King also I have read. From Martin Luther King, like he's a very inspiring person, and he's like, yeah, he's very inspiring because he stopped discrimination and all that. And also that book I didn't tell you much about it, Magic of Me. So that's a book, like it's a book about the power of law of attraction, the power of attraction, and that kind of book.
Super, super. we are drawing to the end of the hour. We have a few more minutes, but I want to do two things. I want to ask Natila about branding, because he talked about personal branding. He talked about his own brand. As children, you're competing with many other classmates and many other children all over the world. So how do you stand out is through creating a brand by standing out, right? Distinctly standing out. Brand means that you're separate from the competitors. Navneet found his niche among his peers, his classmates, schoolmates by being this brilliant spelling whiz, right? That's how you stand out. So
Yeah, so I'll tell you a bit about personal branding. So in personal branding now, let's take Navneet for example, and ordinary students in his age. So those were probably ordinary students. I don't know much about them, but they're probably ordinary students. But Navneet is goes to spelling bee and is an excellent speller. So that's his personal brand. He's good. He's great at spelling actually. So Navneet is a good speller. That's what he's known for. Like if Navneet wasn't a speller, Navneet would just be known as, oh, he's Navneet. Nothing else, nothing else. Just Navneet. Just Navneet. Now, but after now he decided to go at spelling now. So Navneet is a great speller. So just like that, we can take me also for an example. So Netila, and there's also another one, which another Netila who has his own personal brand, Netila the entrepreneur. So that's what your personal brand is. It's what makes you different from the others.
Brilliant. Navneet, any thoughts? Because after this, I want to give you both a chance to ask each other one or two questions. So while Navneet is thinking about, did it change the way others see you, Navneet? Does it, you become this cool kid who won the National Spelling Bee? How did it affect you?
Yeah, I mean, among my friend circle, I'm just known as the person who did the spelling bee. And that's something, it's rewarding to see my work making me stand out from my other classmates and my other friends.
Sure.
So that's also something that motivated me, because people saw me in a different way after I did the spelling bee and after I found success. So that's one thing that helped me move forward and continue working hard despite having some obstacles in my spelling journey.
Excellent. So here's a chance for you both to talk and ask each other and interact with each other. So go ahead. It's your time between the two of you.
So Navneet, that's how you. I'm sure that's how you pronounce it, right? Navneet.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. I can't remember if someone else has asked it before, but why did you go with reading? Like, you couldn't find anything else? Was there anything else other than reading that you like?
I mean, I wouldn't say reading was my main interest. I don't remember what it was at that age, but it's something that I really liked to do because I found reading books informative and interesting at the same time. And spelling, again, as I said in the beginning, it's something that I stumbled upon it without knowing what would happen if I decided to pursue spelling. And thankfully, I was able to find some success in it as a young speller. And that motivated me to continue working. So I would say reading, that's something that my parents nurtured and something that I liked. But after that, everything else, it started out with luck.
Okay.
And yeah, my question to you, it's, well, first of all, just hearing how you're being a great entrepreneur at a young age, that's very inspiring. But yeah, I mean, what were your main obstacles in entrepreneurship and how did you overcome them?
My main obstacles were like people who were saying that like it wasn't actually an obstacle, but it was kind of like slightly irritating to hear people ask me this. But a lot of them have asked me, I'm not being a kid very much, and I'm just focusing on being a business. I'm like, it's not good for me to be doing this. It's kind of irritating, but that wasn't actually a challenge. But I do consider it slightly a bit of a challenge.
That's something that I can also relate to because many people, they just call me the spelling bee guy and they didn't look much more into me. And I mean, yeah, it does get a little hard at times balancing your main interest along with school and friends and other things like that. So yeah, that's something that I can definitely relate to. Yeah.
Super, super. Just hearing you talk to each other just gives me such joy. Let me just change the focus from your core claim to fame to your other interests. What are some things that you guys do for fun, and what are the other things that you do, and any interests, sports? And then the part two of the question is, who's the famous person that you've met, and how did you feel?
I mean, yeah, other than spelling, my main, what I did in my free time was just spending time with my family, my sister, and I'm just taking time off so I can, like, if you study the whole day, that's not gonna help because you're just gonna forget everything. So it's important to take breaks logically, and I like spending time with my family. But other than that, I like listening to, and I like music in general. And along with other interests, when I was in middle school, my main thing was spelling. So I did, other than that, I did have a general sense that I wanted to do something in the medical field. So I read books about medicine. So just, yeah.
Super. Netila, anything interesting?
Yeah, so now like I am very like I do a lot of this entrepreneur and business stuff, and sometimes I feel like I should take a break. So a lot of people say a lot of people have this special name for it. It's called Netflix and chill. So if you, maybe you have heard of Netflix. So I just watch some of my favorite cartoon series on Netflix to get a small just a small break from this business and stuff to forget about it, and then once it's over, then back to all this stuff. But still, I enjoy doing it because I know that I'm going to be very successful someday. I also like doing sports. I will be starting. I'll start doing some badminton very soon. And before that, since first grade to fifth grade, I have been doing a lot of basketball, which has been making me grow very tall.
Good to see you have a lot of interests outside of your core area, entrepreneurship for you, and excellence in spelling and studies for you, Navneet. I'm very delighted to have this lovely conversation. We started right from your immigration days as an early third grader who came into this country, or somebody who's come in very early and then just find through stroke of luck or whatever your calling, and then you found your gift. One final piece of advice.
Oh, I forgot to include something actually. Sorry.
Go ahead, your chance.
I actually go for piano classes, and I love playing piano, and I'm also in my school choir, so I love singing as well.
Oh, super, super. Very glad to hear. Very glad to hear. See, that's the thing about being well-rounded, very well-rounded young leaders. So I want to just commend you, and more importantly your parents, for this being the catalysts, being the encouragers, being the cheerleaders to push you through tough times, and also celebrate the good times. I know Navneet is now mentoring, and his parents are working on another speller in the family. So good luck as well to her. She cleared the regional round as well, and we are particularly proud of her as well. So one final parting piece of advice to all the young people who are watching now, and also watch it on YouTube. Some 2-3 steps that they should do to be successful. Both of you.
Yeah, I mean, the first step would be finding your area of interest, and after that, sticking to it despite all the challenges that you may face, because it's inevitable for you to face challenges. It's not feasible for a person to just keep winning and not face any failures, because then you're not going to grow as a person. Um, Definitely, there were some failures in my spelling career, and they helped me become an even better speller and to grow as a person, to become more understanding. So yeah, if you have something that you really like, despite the hurdles that you may face, stick to it. And again, my parents were extremely helpful in helping me stay focused towards my dream of winning the national spelling bee. And that's also something that can definitely come into hand.
Super.
So my advice for kids who like to become successful, as in like in the business and entrepreneurship area, I have some good advice for that. So one would be to what was it? Yeah. So one would be to study the people in these days. Now after the pandemic hit, like you need to know what people want to buy these days and how like what kind of stores they go to. So they need to study. They need to learn stuff like that. And they need to have time management. Time management is a very crucial thing in entrepreneurship, like because the also yeah, time management is a very crucial thing, because when you're an entrepreneur you need to be able to manage your school studies and normal life stuff. Also the other thing is like if you want to become an entrepreneur and you are one, like you're currently in the learning state as an entrepreneur, the thing would be to find problems, like look for problems, like you have to go searching for problems. Like entrepreneurs are people who solve problems in the society, and they don't do it because they want money, they do it because it's their passion. They're passionate about solving that problem, and money automatically just comes running after them. They can't stop that. So that's who an entrepreneurship in. So you have to look for problems and start think about solutions for them.
Wow. Look for problems and think about solving them. And your advice, Navneet, was find what interests you and stick with it even when obstacles come. I might as well be talking to C-level executives and not get this wisdom. First of all, I want to thank you for spending time on a Saturday to inspire other young people. And it is my particular pleasure to have met two young achievers and inspired a few other young people. So thank you for joining. Please compliment your parents on our behalf and say, all these young people, thank you, and the parents for setting up you as such brilliant achievers at this very young age. We are very proud of you, and I can't tell you what the future holds for you. May you go forth and inspire thousands and thousands of people. May God bless you. Thank you very much for joining this Saturday.